One of the things that I love, right? Science. Science. Life is science to me. Okay. Might not be to everyone, but to me, life is all about science. Science is basically the explanation to everything. One of my favorite scientists is Neil deGrasse Tyson. Okay. He has the ability to explain very complex concepts in such a simple form where everyone can basically understand. He did upload a video not too long ago. What I saw in Antarctica. I wonder what he saw. Okay. Again, science and nature never ceases to amaze me. So I'm gonna take a look at this video. Let's see what he saw.
Antarctica was always on my
Also,
bucket
is that a longboard? Is that, wait a minute. Is this one of the remote controlled hoverboards? Oh, deGrasse Tyson, man. I didn't know you were
list. Been to all the other
you were a
continents,
skater.
and it's not something I would arrange myself. But
Also, Antarctica isn't
I got a
inhabited
phone call
by
from
people.
an organization called
right?
Future of Space. It's all into exploration, not only
Antarctica is
Earth's
just a
surface,
bunch
the
of
oceans,
icebergs
but
and
space. And they're chartering
snow
a
and
ship
polar
to
bears and
Antarctica.
penguins.
Called me up. Said, Neil, you want to join us? I said, yeah. While my passage was paid
It must be
for,
cold as hell
I gave
over
some
there.
talks, interacted with all the shipboard people. So, yeah, finally, on my bucket list, made the trip to Antarctica.
Damn. It must be surreal to go out there.
We're all gonna die.
What the heck? That is cool.
So I wasn't the only person on board who served as part of the attraction for the.
I'd like to meet
seagoing
Neil
visitors
deGrasse
to
Tyson
Antarctica. We had
at some
William
point in my
Shatner,
life.
All 93 years of him, still going strong. The only one among us who
93?
is boldly gone where no
Holy-
one has gone before. He's quite a hoot. Scott Kelly, a shuttle era astronaut, holds the American record for most number of days
I've heard
in
of Scott
space.
Kelly before.
I also went with my wife and my son, Travis.
Big kisses to the Star Talk team.
And he brought a
okay,
friend,
that's
Kelly.
a little. Okay,
We just came from Buenos Aires and we're on the plane.
And in fact, Travis never left his stateroom without a GoPro. And he captured so much of this trip. Most of it is through his eyes.
Hi, I'm Kelly,
And I'm Travis
and we're here today
at the.
they got a
port of
GoPro.
Ushuaia.
Okay.
in Argentina. Just recently landed. It is personally both our first times going to Antarctica
And Argentina for
and
that matter.
Argentina.
I've
which,
seen
by the
him
way,
before
was like-
in
Well, it still
the
is,
Family
well,
Feud
it's the
episode
southernmost
with
city in the world. Right
Yeah.
now.
Tyson,
because it's
Neil
the
deGrasse
fastest to get
Tyson
to
and his
Antarctica.
family. Obviously, he's a little
I've been
older
told,
now.
I didn't double check
Rhode
this, but I have
Island.
no reason
That's
to
where I
doubt
live.
that There's a town.
I'm not gonna
in
say exactly
Argentina,
where, but-
Ushuaia, which is the southernmost settlement in the world. What an ideal place to
Wow.
serve as a port of departure for Antarctica. Ushuaia is a town. People go there hiking. I think it's near Patagonia. Forgive me as
It
a
looks nice.
geographically
The
ignorant
scenery
American.
and
I
stuff.
didn't know that was a place. I just thought it was a brand. A beautiful coastal town, fully self-aware of its role in the world as a servant of explorers, as a last stop.
Damn, look
before
at the
Antarctica.
mountains though. Holy. Wow, that's nice.
I'm just a city kid, so like, what do I know about Drake's Passage? In the body of water between Ushuaia and the tip of the Antarctic Peninsula, that is where the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean meet. I don't know if that alone would be sufficient to make it as choppy as it is, or whether there
Ooh.
are other prevailing climactic circumstances. But, oh my gosh, you see
Oh
the
my-
horizon.
oh
do
Jesus.
this. And you say, well, why is the horizon doing that? No, the boat is doing that. And
I'm pretty sure people will get.
I didn't do much eating.
I don't
during
get
that
ocean
time.
sickness
In fact,
or anything.
Plates would slide off of the tables. So,
But
there's a
like I can
period of time
imagine
there
someone that
where
does.
everybody's
This would
basically
be
on lockdown
ridiculous.
to get through Drake's Passage. By the way, our ship is relatively modern. Just in the last 5 years, it's been put on the water.
Dang.
It made me wonder.
Look at the size of that.
The explorers from the 19th century, 18th century, when they hit storms, what would that be like? If that kind of turbulence was doing that to our modern ship, I can't imagine what it.
Bro, look at the wave compared to the size of the boat, dude. Imagine, how does it easily not topple over? I've been on boats before, but not like this. I've been on like small little pirate boats here in Providence, Rhode Island. Okay, we are the ocean state, as they call us, the smallest state in the United States of America. Okay, so we do have boats. Okay, we do have some pirate boats too. I've been in them, and I've like when I was in elementary school, we used to take trips there all the time. But damn, dude.
Did to any of those ancient ships that sailed the open seas. The fun part was conversations that I was able to have with some of the other people who served as part of the attraction of the boat. We actually recorded a Star Talk live. My two guests for that were William Shatner and Scott
What a
Kelly.
legend.
We love him. He's a twin, you may remember, and we've actually interviewed him before for Star Talk. He is just fun to hear his stories about spending as much time as he did in space.
Man,
almost
that
a
is so
year
cool.
in space.
Do you think they play like ping? Well, not really ping pong, but like ping pong with like water droplets and on space. Because it's like, oh man, space is so cool. Oh man. I just anything with space or like underwater, like it just, oh man, it gives me anxiety to think about how vast the universe and the galaxy is. But like there's so much in our world that we still have yet to discover, where it's like, damn, I'm just not even a drop of like light. Like I'm a speck of dust in the world, basically. But one thing I like about Neil deGrasse Tyson is that even though to me, he's like a fucking genius, like a modern day genius. I'm sure he would probably beg to differ because he's always trying to learn, which kind of motivates me as well to always want to learn new things. But to me, he's such a titan in like science and knowledge that he's always open. No matter how much he knows, he's always open to like discovering and being corrected. Like even though he can make hypothesis like, oh, maybe, this is this way. He's always open to discovering more about said thing and being corrected and actually learning. So it's always refreshing to watch him in his journey of acquiring that knowledge to also doing the same. I don't know, man. I'm just yapping.
In the space
I'm
station,
just gonna...
the International Space Station, we talked about exploration and discovery. Compared and contrasted people who came to Antarctica
See, I just
on the
mentioned that.
frontier of exploration of Earth's surface and how the environment was so hostile to anything that they were accustomed to in Europe or anywhere else in the world, and what the challenges have been for going into space, particularly the earliest ones where there were a lot of uncertainties. And what kind of bravery did that take? What kind of audacity of mission did that take? William Shatner just loves thinking about exploration and what it means to our species, to humanity, to our goals, to what we are as humans.
We're here because of our curiosity. I want to see a leopard seal.
That was a fun conversation. I also had
I was
separate
waiting
conversation with...
I was waiting for him to say, I want to see a leopard seal floating in space. I was like, wait a minute, William Shatner. What? Okay, what What are you talking about, bro? He just said he just wanted to see a leopard seal. Okay. All right. My
Charlie
bad.
Duke, who's been to the moon, 250,000 miles away.
Apollo
And we had that
16.
conversation by design on Christmas Eve. Because on Christmas Eve, 1968, Apollo 8 was orbiting the moon. It was the first time astronauts were launched with a destination in mind.
Damn.
Destination moon. Apollo 8.
It looks so
They're
cool.
orbiting the moon. They come around the backside, and lo and behold, there's Earthrise. They took that famous picture of Earthrise over the lunar landscape.
Look how
that we
high
all
quality this
recognize.
picture is,
And
by
on
the
that
way.
Christmas Eve,
Imagine
with
seeing
Earth
that in person.
view, in the distance, 250,000 miles distance,
That is so surreal.
those three astronauts took turns reading the first 10 verses of Genesis.
In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep.
I guess when you're in space and you see Earth as no one had seen it before, it can do that to you. I wanted to discuss with Charlie Duke the meaning and significance of that reading and just what he felt about that and his life
Yeah, that is
as an
interesting.
astronaut, one of the few who have
Like-
been to the moon and back.
One of the reasons, okay, I'm gonna, I know a lot of people, and especially streamers, they don't really, it's kind of a taboo thing to do, okay? There's a lot of people that try to avoid it just because there's so many pushback and like differences, but I don't care. I don't really mind, okay, talking about it. Like, I don't really speak badly about religion. I don't really speak badly about science or other ideals or politics or anything. But for me, right? I know I mentioned previously I was raised Catholic. In my teenage years, obviously that changed, okay? Currently, I'm like agnostic leaning towards atheist, okay? I don't really want to fully say I'm atheist, but I'm agnostic. I'm open to say I'm agnostic, okay? I don't know if there's a higher being. I don't know if whatever. To me, I'm leaning more towards science, okay? That's why I say, oh, science is life, because it explains a lot of like the beginnings. If you obviously don't believe in religion or stuff like that, or aren't very spiritual, but like it's crazy to know, to see like there's scientists that are religious and spiritual, or like doctors as well, that it's kind of like you're in both worlds of science and religion, and it's like obviously one kind of contradicts the other, maybe, I guess, because obviously, oh, the origins of everything, of life, oh, this happened this way, no, this was created this, like, it's interesting to see, like, once both clash, what do you think? What do you believe in? Are you
You know
convinced?
who else was on board? Our Star Talk friend, Brian Greene. He was there with his wife and 2 kids, the only other sort of physicist on board. So I had a fun conversation with him, and we're just sort of geeking out on the science that's conducted at Antarctica. So Brian, is this your first time to Antarctica?
I thought he was gonna go into like the space thing with the astronaut, but just one last thing touching on the astronaut thing. Like, for instance, Apollo 8, before they actually went up there, took the picture, whatever. Obviously, as you've seen, they were quoting Bible verses and like, oh, in the beginning there was darkness, blah blah blah, created by God. And then they went up there. They saw that. They took a picture. It's like once you get up there, you were reading that. You got up there. You seen it for yourself. You seen the darkness. You seen now knowing what you know and what you learn about science. Like, are you convinced about the Big Bang, or are you actually convinced by how surreal it is in person, that no, this had to be created by a higher being and not like, that's what I want to know.
It is not.
Oh my
This is my
God.
second time.
Oh, you show it off now.
No, it's just it just means I got sick twice as often.
By the way, when you go to Antarctica, no matter the season, you got to be dressed for it. And we went in December, which was, quote, the height of their
Well,
summer.
I live in the East Coast. I know
The
how cold
temperature
it gets here in
bottomed out
Rhode Island.
in the
Imagine
low 30s.
Antarctica. Oh,
Maybe -1 Celsius. It was typically more like 35 degrees. Based here in New York City, I was comparing temperatures. It was typically colder in New York City over that time
Okay,
than it
okay.
was in
I see.
Antarctica.
yeah,
But
here in Rhode
regardless,
Island,
when you're out for long
it gets
periods of
cold
time,
like that.
You don't want to be exposed to the cold temperatures for too long. It's just not healthy, particularly the very windy conditions. And so we each were given a big old yellow parka.
We're getting ready to see Elephant Island. All of us have multiple layers of clothes on. Thermals, pants, waterproof things.
I didn't even know that was
We're gonna
called a
change into
parka.
boots because we can't let our dirty shoes get into Antarctica.
Antarctica is an isolated, pristine place. And so they were very careful about what clothing we were bringing on this voyage, the risk that we as passengers pose to harming the ecosystem.
Yeah,
of
it's like
Antarctica
contaminating.
with microbes, organisms, and other forms of bugs stowaway in the Velcro of our clothing.
So what did we just do here, Kelly?
So we're getting our outside clothes checked to see if there's any Velcro on them.
That's
Velcro is one of the
insane.
easiest ways to capture dirt and grass from Antarctica. And we want to make sure that we're not bringing back any kind of bacteria, any kind of plants, or living.
Well, isn't it the other way around?
It's both ways.
Interesting.
Is there a mark?
Usually, you think of Antarctica, you think of just like just snow and ice, right? And penguins and polar bears and seals or whatever. But you don't really think about like, oh yeah, there's, bugs and whatever. Maybe I'm too much of a dummy to comprehend. That scenery is insane. Like, it's so
Front face. We're about to all touch a glacier, or part of a glacier. How are you feeling?
I'm extremely excited to hold.
How do they not
Antarctica
think
ice.
of like Titanic and stuff like that?
So, it feels like a piece of art.
It's just ice.
Yeah, but it's artistically crafted ice. Anyways.
Artisan ice. I got a great question here. And that really just depends
That's
on
solid.
the area that
It
you're in.
looks. It doesn't even look
To the
solid.
time when officially
Salty.
called
Could be worse.
glacier ice.
By the way, that water, holy crap! It looks like they just poured blue dye into the ocean. Like, wow. Again, me being kind of a non-believer, I kind of try to find the beauty in the small things in life, in the world, in nature, and everything. Like, yeah, there's people who are like, yeah, that's just ice, dude. No, bro, like, oh my god, dude. Damn. Like, imagine if that's the reaction watching a video, imagine being there in person. How crazy it is.
Another striking feature is the number of icebergs. very big navigational challenge for the captain of the ship. These icebergs are huge. I was most impressed.
Is he going to bring up the Titanic?
Tabletop icebergs. These are flat-topped icebergs that are frozen ice sheets, basically, that broke off from their shelf
Yeah,
and then are floating. So they don't have the craggy-looking tops that icebergs that cleave off of glaciers can attain. So it's perfectly smooth top. And I'm looking at one out my window. I'm on the 8th level of this ship. So that means there's 8 stories, 8
God
floors of icebergs sticking out of the water. Well, we all heard that 90% of ice is submerged, 10% is above. So that means that this floating iceberg is 72 stories below the water. I mean, I couldn't even fathom that. I did go in a little submersible.
Where are we off to?
What?
The Submarine. Oh, yeah.
And what are we gonna see?
I don't know. We're going to see stuff underwater. I want to see the bottom of an iceberg just to get final proof that 90% of it lives there. But we could not get close enough to make that observation.
I don't think a lot of people could
Rather,
fathom
the
how
captain of the
much that is,
submersible
because like
declared we will not get close enough to an iceberg to see its base.
buildings
because
are
they're
not.
highly unstable objects. They're slowly melting, and they're always repositioning themselves. They'll tip, they'll tumble, they'll roll, always to maintain 90% of their volume beneath the water surface. So it's just dangerous. So I never did see it. I was saddened by that. I mean, I believe it. I mean, I know physics, so I'm good with it. But it would have been more fun.
That's like saying, "Oh, I want to go to space and see whatever the heck." But space is so vast that there's a high possibility you're not going to be able to see it. It's kind of the same, but this is on Earth. This is like, imagine how many, as I said, so many undiscovered things that we have yet to discover here on Earth, and we're trying to comprehend and discover shit in the space, in the universe.
Document it. We're all gonna die.
You guys haven't eaten enough. You are too light. Therefore, I actually need to make the submarine a little bit heavier. So what I'm doing now, I'm venting the tanks. The submarine will actually start getting lower in the water until we get enough bite for the thrusters, and then it will push the submarine down. But we will always float, meaning that's the first line of defense. We just simply float to the surface.
There's an experiment I wanted to do, and I made sure I did it. This cruise took place over Christmas, so there was no shortage of Santa hats. I made sure to take one with me on the submersible. Because you know what happens? As you descend, sunlight, which contains red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, sunlight starts getting filtered. And red light does not penetrate as deep into the water as blue light does. So this Santa hat should get darker and darker and darker. And I think eventually it'll just look black. So things start taking
I was gonna
on a
say
bluish
purple,
hue.
but
very
obviously
odd, very spooky even. And as I hold the Santa hat, told you, which is vibrant red as you'd expect any Santa hat to be, the color slowly fades. No red available in the sunlight to reflect off of the red hat so that I can see red. And we got to the bottom, and there are these weird creatures. They look very alien. One had, I don't know.
Oh, it
starfish,
reminds me of
except it had too many
Subnautica,
legs.
dude. I
There's
still
like
have to play that
15
game on
legs.
stream at some point,
Starfish
but
like should have 5 legs. Sea stars, right? 5 legs. These are like 15. Like, what is that? It looked alien. Like I cut a hole in the ice sheets of Europa, Jupiter's moon, and I'm looking at life forms down there. That's what I felt like. And so, I don't know, is this life form found elsewhere? Unique to Antarctica? And by the way, the water is below freezing because it's salt water, and salt water freezes at a lower temperature than purified water.
jeez.
So that's another sort of interesting fact, that these creatures are perfectly happy under those conditions at the bottom of the ocean. And I say, okay, it's time to ascend back up.
And that's
So
not
we should
even
see this in
scraping
reverse.
the
And
surface
I'm watching
of
slowly
like
happen very fast.
life form.
Most of the depth
in the
we
oceans,
submerged,
in the deep.
there's no red light at all. Get up to a certain depth in the water, and then you begin to see some red come back. It's a striking phenomenon to watch that happen. A bit of optics. You know what else was cool? This ship is also a bit of an icebreaker. It's got a steel reinforced hull in the front. And what we were going to do was plow into one of the ice sheets in such a way that we get sort of wedged there and then step down and walk around on the ice sheets. This is frozen Arctic water. And so we tried that. So we plowed in and we broke up the ice a little bit, but we didn't get a nice nestly feel from it. We backed out, came back in again, and at that point, right at the tip of the bow, the front of the ship, the ice cracked. And then it kept cracking, and it kept cracking.
Look at the crack.
Is that because of the force
Oh my
or the
God.
pressure?
Look at that crack. Oh. Oh.
And it made a crack a
Crazy to
mile
see,
long
dude.
all the way to the shore. And it was like, whoa. We broke the ice cap.
That's crazy. That's like what's that in the religious there's a story, the guy that separates the sea. I don't really know. I apologize to anyone who's religious or whatever, but he like separates it. Moses, right? He separates the sea, but you're separating ice with
People worried, well, now the penguins won't be able to migrate. Dude, penguins swim, okay? Penguins were just happy jumping in the
they're
water
good.
and back out on the other side. So that was an interesting phenomenon. We thought we'd done harm, but no, this happens. Ice breaks and refreezes all the time in Antarctica. Along the peninsula, there are a lot of islands.
Is it because of how
the
cold it
several
is over
places
there?
We stopped. We made sure that on the itinerary, one of those places would be the continent rather than just one of the islands off on the peninsula.
Whoa. Bro, I'm cold just looking. Just looking at this, dude. And like I'm sure in person the snow, like it's snowing. It's crazy. You could probably not even see that far out ahead.
What is the only bird that can swim but can't fly?
Penguins?
Penguins, of course.
Or as Benedict Cumberbatch says, penglings.
By the way, they should rename Antarctica Penguin Land. Penguins everywhere, even on isolated ice floes. They swam there and then they swim back. There's bajillion of them, and they stank. That's worse than if you stink. You stank. And they're so clumsy. They're hilariously clumsy. They're like as high as my kneecap, waddling around, tripping on each other. And I'm realizing, why are they so clumsy? This is embarrassing. What does nature have to say about this? And then I work here at a natural history museum, and I reminded myself, they're so clumsy because they have no land predators. That makes them cuter because they'll waddle up to you because they don't think you're going to harm them, and you're not. But if you
There's
have
no
land
sense of
predators,
urgency.
you don't have to be nimble on the ground because nobody's chasing you. Nobody's ever chased you. I can bet you this, if there's a land predator that showed up, that natural selection would work
Yeah,
fast.
they can't waddle
and get
away.
the
They'll have to
penguins that
like.
are not waddling, that are not tripping over their toes, and so that would be an interesting development.
Yeah, I thought he
in
was gonna
the
say they're top
tree of life
heavy or like they don't have
as a
balance.
branch of evolution.
But it's
What
just
would
yeah,
nimble
there's no
penguins look
sense
like?
of.
I haven't seen so many penguins, and there are different kinds of penguins, but I'm human,
They're like
and to me, they all
they're like naturally doing the Naruto run, but instead of running, they're just walking, doing the pose.
look like penguins.
That's what they look like.
We never saw the emperor penguin.
Look at 'em.
I'm told they
That's
live
the
more inland,
Naruto
less
run.
on the coast. It was funny watching them to jump one after another into the water, and then they would chicken out. Can I use the expression "chicken out" when referring to penguins? That doesn't sound right. A fear factor would descend upon them. Like the penguin in front would say, "No, I'm not going to do this." Turn around and walk the other way. Every other penguin in the line gives up on that option after the first penguin decides to not jump. I don't know how they're communicating. Are they spooked? Are they worried that there's like an orca in the water that could eat them, which they do? I don't know.
Now, my question, since he just said that, like, let me know. Do you think there's like a pack lead? Like, you know how in some animal like groups, there's like a pack leader who like, and there's followers. So like, if the leader commits to doing something and actually does something, the others follow along. Do you think that's the case with penguins, or like you see how the first one in the line backed out, the rest followed suit? You think if he were to commit, the rest were because they would be like, oh yeah, there's no harm in that. There's no like risk of doing something. Since Neil deGrasse Tyson just said that, oh, they waddle because there's no predators to kind of give them that sense of urgency or emergency for them to actually not waddle but run, or you know, like, do you think they live life like that? Like, they live life just cautious, or
But it was
like, do you know what I'm trying to
hilarious.
ask? Or
The
am I
voyage took
just
place like
I don't
the
know.
last 10 days of December, basically. That encloses the solstice, the December solstice. And so we weren't far enough south for the sun to never set, but the sun didn't get very low below the horizon. It was like persistent twilight throughout the night. So it never really got dark.
Whoa.
To visit a place I've never been before, and there's nobody there, feels a little bit like you're the first ones to ever discover it. And I'm just reminded, first, how interdependent we all are on each other for our own survival.
True.
For the food chain, water supply, transportation. Whereas in Antarctica, there's countless penguins thriving there. They're functioning just fine, as they have been for millions of years. So I felt a little bit like an intruder in their space. They're just minding their own business, keeping their eggs warm. That was cute. Watching them warm their eggs. Watching them fight over the nests. That was kind of funny. We should rename Antarctica Penguin Land and Iceberg
It
Way.
reminds me of the
How about
Penguin
that?
movie. What was it? It's
cool
not Happy
fact,
Feet, but it's the other
Arctos
one.
means bear in Greek. So the Arctic means bear. Antarctic means no bear. So there are no bears in Antarctica.
Oh.
And almost all the world's free penguins live and thrive there. By the way, I also saw humpback whales and orcas. It's spooky to see the orcas swim in unison. One of our tour guides described that as analogous to a wolf pack. And I couldn't view the night sky because there was no night sky. It was eternal twilight before the sun came up. So there you have it. Bucket list checked off.
That's so cool. Damn. Damn, dude. It makes you really think. Like, because like when he went down to in the submarine and seen that little starfish with like 15 things, like it meant that's just what you see just going down a little bit. Imagine the shit deeper than that. If that looks like an alien life form, imagine like it is Subnautica. Like if you had to think of aliens, like the closest thing to aliens, right? On Earth, in real life, you would think of like underwater things. That was fucking interesting. Speaking of underwater, Subnautica, alien life forms on Earth, we're gonna react to a video of a colossal squid. First observation, searching for new species in the South Sandwich Islands. I don't know where the South Sandwich Islands are, but that is insane, okay? Like, we were just talking about this in the Neil deGrasse Tyson video that we reacted to. If you didn't see that video, go watch it. But look at this thing.
Although humans have known of the colossal squid,
that seems like an alien life form.
Mesonocotuthis hamiltoni, since 1925, this is the first confirmed live observation of one in its natural
vibrant.
habitat.
There's like
researchers filmed the young colossal squid at nearly 600 meters depth near the South Sandwich Islands.
What in
the young
the
glass
flip?
squid hovers steadily as its transparent body rotates.
It looks
slowly,
cool. Don't get me wrong, but it
excellent
looks
views of the
weird.
slender internal organs and large, highly reflective, iridescent eyes. Pairs of curved hooks are clearly visible.
Those
on
are the
clubs
eyes?
at the ends of the two long tentacles, and the clubs are long and slender, with relatively small hooks giving way to small suckers about 2/3 of the way along the club. Hooks are also present in the middle section of each of the 8 arms, which is the defining feature for Mesonocotuthis and is the basis for the genus name. Meso meaning mid,
I mean, it
Monico
doesn't
meaning hook, and Tuthis
It
for
doesn't
squid.
look that colossal.
Large specimens of colossal squid do not resemble typical
But
glass
it's
squids,
probably
but in
because the
this footage,
camera's
their
so far
similarity
away.
to other family members is clear. The red coloration of the arms and large rust-red chromatophores on the mantle suggest that
the
the animal can
fuck?
switch between transparent and opaque.
Imagine
Witnessing
seeing this in a
first
submarine,
encounter,
dude.
documented as the Schmidt Ocean Institute's remotely operated vehicle Sebastian descended through the water column, is truly a thrilling experience. I'm Dr. Kat Bolstad from the AUT Lab for
Bro, there's shit like this existing in the ocean. Deep down in the darks where we haven't been before. This shit looks something like out of a sci-fi movie or a video game that would attach to your head and mind control you. And this shit is real life. Deep down, I don't even know how big it is. I don't even think they said how big it actually is because there's no way of measuring it. But fuck, dude, the eyes light up. That's dude. What the fuck? If this exists, what else is down there? What else is down there? Fucking crazy, man.